Now, members of the South Korean pop band BTS have announced they will fulfil their military service. Public opinion has been divided over whether to allow the stars an exemption because of their contribution to South Korea's economy.
The 7 members of BTS, one of the world's biggest bands, will perform military service in their native country, South Korea. Each of the members has been asked to do 2 years in the military. Jin, the oldest member of the group, will be first to swap his stage outfit for a uniform soon after he turns 30 in December, and the others will follow him in the coming years. But the question is why? Why is the biggest band in the world, which contributes billions to the Korean economy each year, being separated and being asked to serve in the military? This is called military conscription or draft, which today is practiced by more than 15 nations worldwide, and not so long ago was practiced by more than half the world. So today we look into what this mandatory military service is, who practices it, and importantly, what are some of its pros and cons. With that, let's start. You probably think of getting a job, a gap year, or further studies once you're out of school or college. However, many nations today mandate serving in the army for adults more than 18 years of age. Conscription or draft is the mandatory enlistment of people in a national service, which more often than not is the military. Historically, most conscription practices only recruited men. However, some countries like Norway have recently introduced female conscription into the armed forces. The actual origin of this concept is still debated, but it is known to be a very old one, and there is evidence that in ancient Egypt and ancient China, a large number of soldiers were actually conscripted peasants. The turn of the 20th century, however, can be credited with the practice of conscription today. You see, when the British Army's deployment to South Africa revealed a worrying lack of young men fit enough to join the army, the National Service League and some politicians lobbied for the introduction of compulsory military training. And then in 1916, in the middle of the First World War, the British Empire introduced mandatory military service again. British men from 18 to 41 were legally deemed to have been duly enlisted for the duration of the entire Second World War. This was followed by continental Europe adopting similar practices during and after the World War ended, especially powerful countries like Germany and France. But in modern times, developed nations have seen a trend towards repealing draft law. In 1973, the US got rid of the draft, followed by many developed nations in the EU. However, you might be surprised that even today, 7 members within the EU still retain some form of conscription. Norway and Sweden have a gender-neutral conscription system where men and women both have to serve equal formal terms. But perhaps the most famous example of this practice is South Korea. Conscription in South Korea has existed since 1957 and requires male citizens between age 18 and 28 to perform compulsory military service. While women are not required to perform it at this time, but they may voluntarily join the service. By law, when a South Korean man turns 18 years old, he is enlisted for first citizen service, meaning he is liable for military duty but is not yet required to serve. When he turns 19 years old, he is required to undergo an impairment and disability evaluation to determine whether he is suitable for military service or not. Although this practice is slowly dying, many countries have voted to continue this service. They feel it brings communities together and inspires nationalism. The Swiss, for example, believe that the draft unites their diverse nation, which has 4 distinct languages and cultures. Other countries keep the draft because they are continuously under the threat of war. Countries like Russia, South Korea, and Israel are regularly involved in conflicts with their neighbors. Having a large army at their disposal is a necessity during an emergency. On the other hand, this concept is also seen as a human rights issue, forcing young, employable adults to join the army, sometimes without consent. Many believe that enforcing this without any ongoing war is more harmful for an economy as it defers employability and nation's growth. This has also led to the evolution of this practice, and today, many places men and women both eligible for the draft are usually able to choose between community service work or national defense. Conscription as a practice was much more popular in earlier history. But as wars have changed, the draft has slowly lost its purpose. Still, Many countries use it to amplify their military strength and be ready for a looming war. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, do drop in a like and subscribe to show your support for this channel. Thank you for watching.